Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be once again talking about Ubisoft, who I'm sure can't wait for this nightmarish year to end, thanks to a lot of self-created problems, beginning with their giant flops of AAA titles like Skull and Bones, Star Wars Outlaws, X-Defiant, and so on and so forth. And also this month they've been dealing with protests at their French division, and also they're dealing with the ongoing problem of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, I think you guys are aware that a few months ago they announced this game was going to be delayed until February of 2025. And of course, during that time, that just means more expenses for Ubisoft. And it's been confirmed from its CEO that basically this delay till February is going to cost Ubisoft another $20 million, which makes it also sound like this is fixing a lot more than just bugs. It seems like they're making some major changes to this game to try to salvage something out of this mess. Now, that is something that is a very common pattern at Ubisoft, where some of its higher-ups keep making very bad public statements that are often contradicting one another. We've seen that with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Yasuke in particular, where their basic philosophy behind historical accuracy with that character is constantly flip-flopping, and we've seen this happen over the last couple of months, where at one point they're saying we want to be historically accurate with Yasuke, and then the next second they're saying we want to take creative liberties, this is about entertainment and not respecting historical accuracy to a T, and then they flip-flop on that and they do it over and over again. And the latest headline coming out of this company with Ubisoft here is just crazy. So you can see the headline from that Park Place. Assassin's Creed Shadows boss claims DEI is killing game, not only doubles down on it, but also attacks critics. This is, again, another example of a higher up at Ubisoft doing something that is against the good intentions of the company. They are actively sabotaging the company with these awful headlines they're producing by making these interviews. So what they're referring to here is that the boss, Mark Alexis Cote, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, well, he did a recent interview with Eurogamer where he said a lot of things about the company, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and their approach to things like DEI, and it's all really bad. Now, keep in mind, this individual, this boss from Assassin's Creed Shadows, was also making the rounds on social media recently because they had a complete breakdown over this interaction on Twitter. So you can see Elon Musk responding to this tweet criticizing Assassin's Creed Shadows and the injection of DEI, where Elon Musk says DEI kills arts. And as a result of that, this boss over at Ubisoft would basically say that tweet generated so many emotions that made him want to go back to the platform just to say things to Elon Musk, where basically he was running through potential ideas he would say to Elon Musk, and basically he said, for me, Elon, it's just sad. He's just feeding hatred. I had a lot of 3-word replies that came to mind, which, by the way, there's a lot of various 3-word combinations that would be pretty inappropriate to say to someone like Elon Musk as the boss over at Assassin's Creed Shadows. But anyways, let's get into that interview with Eurogamer, and it's not surprising that Eurogamer and Ubisoft have combined for an absolute abomination of a interview. So beginning at the top here, discussing the current shifting cultural landscape, Cote described the current discussions around representation and inclusivity in media as an additional and previously unforeseen challenge. These conversations can influence how our games are perceived, but rather than shy away from those conversations, we should see them as an opportunity, he explained. So basically they're saying we're the heroes, right? We know that having DEI associated with our games is bad. It affects the perception of our game negatively, but we're going to do it anyways because it's an opportunity to have these tough conversations, which I'm sure the investors are loving every part of that. You're basically sacrificing the quality and perception of your game and its potential sales to push an agenda, which they also claim they're not pushing, but we'll get into that in a second. So they continue on saying, Assassin's Creed has always been about exploring the full spectrum of human history, and by its very nature, that history is diverse. Staying true to history means embracing the richness of human perspectives without compromise. For example, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we highlight figures, both fictional like Naoe, a Japanese warrior woman, and historical like Yasuke, the African-born samurai. They're still labeling him a samurai after all of this. They've learned nothing. But they continue on saying, while the inclusion of a black samurai in feudal Japan has sparked questions and even controversy, Naoe, as a fictional character, has also faced scrutiny for her gender. Now, I don't know where they're getting this. The amount of controversy attached to that character is like 1% of the controversy attached to Yasuke. That's the main problem. And the only time I've ever seen Naoe ever even mentioned in these conversations is basically using her as a package deal with Yasuke, saying these are the two protagonists of your game set in feudal Japan, a woman and an African man. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You would expect a set of Japanese protagonists and one of them probably to be a man. I don't think people are too shocked that one of the potential protagonists was going to be a Japanese woman, in this case a fictional figure here. But anyways, addressing that part, let's go back up here. So they did the classic move. It's pretty much a meme at this point. We saw it with Dragon Age and some of their staff where they're being criticized for their latest game being woke, and in response to that they say, wait a second, chud, we've always been woke. And that is a terrible route. I don't know why all these developers are embracing wokeness or their quest for diversity. But anyways, that's what they're doing here. They're doubling down on it quite hard and then trying to play the victim. But continuing on, they say this. And this isn't new ground for the franchise, he noted. And he lists a bunch of different diverse Assassin's Creed characters, saying, again, history is inherently diverse, and so is Assassin's Creed and the stories we tell. So to be clear, our commitment to inclusivity is grounded in historical authenticity and respect for diverse perspectives, not driven by modern agendas. So they just said 2 seconds ago, pushing this stuff in their games is a bad look for its perception, but it's something important for them to do. What does that sound like? That sounds like pushing a modern agenda. And then down here they say they're not doing that. And they're also saying, again, we care about historical authenticity, where they're also falsely labeling Yasuke as a samurai in order to check boxes for their DEI related agenda. In this comparison of Yasuke versus these other protagonists and saying they're all diverse. Well, the reason people have an issue with Yasuke being the main protagonist of Shadows is that he doesn't really fit the environment. Yes, he was there, but he was a very small minority of the population. You would just expect a game based in feudal Japan to have Japanese protagonists. And comparing Yasuke to these other main protagonists of other games is ridiculous because those other characters, their ethnicity fit the context of where they were. You expected these characters to have these ethnicities, and they weren't a surprise or confused by anyone as an attempt to push an agenda. But here with Shadows, that is very clear. There is an agenda being pushed. But continuing on, Kotei's tone seemed notably different to Ubisoft's last vague mention of polarized comments by company boss Guillermo, who raised eyebrows in September when he told investors that Ubisoft was an entertainment-first company creating games for the broadest possible audience, and our goal is to not push any specific agenda. Which, of course, all of these comments seem like a great contradiction to everything both parties are saying. So you have Kotei here and Guillermo saying really two completely different things about how they want to approach the company and how they want to not push an agenda or focus on entertainment first. They don't really know their identity, and they're constantly flip-flopping on their own views of their products, and that is what has gotten a lot of trouble heading Ubisoft's way because they can't really have a unified approach to anything. They're constantly saying things that contradict one another when it comes to their leadership positions. And going further, so it says here, Kotei continues saying, alongside these deep-rooted franchise values is our commitment to recognize and listen to legitimate criticism as an essential part of the creative process, Kotei said tonight. Our community helps us grow, evolve, and deliver better games. Today, we all, however, face the added challenge of distinguishing between genuine feedback and attacks driven by intolerance. So we've heard some different rumors, like from Endymion and other people who claim that insiders have said that the people at Ubisoft, they are shut down to criticism. They are not hearing it from anyone. They have completely decided that all of this outside noise is not important to them. So in the eyes of Ubisoft, any complaint from the outside is just being thrown off as intolerance. I don't think that is a bold claim to make with Ubisoft based on their track record. And on top of that, we see this whole commitment to the creative process and that they want the community to help them grow and deliver better products. But again, with Yasuke, the very simple fact that just 2 seconds ago, we saw this boss over at Ubisoft refer to Yasuke as a samurai despite the massive outrage, especially in Japan, over that ridiculous claim, shows they're not taking any of this seriously. And I think that's not too much of a surprise. But listen to how they play the victim here. So our creative teams face lies, half-truths, and personal attacks online. And they say the current climate is tough on them. When the work they pour their hearts into is twisted into a symbol of division, it's not just disheartening, it can be devastating. What keeps me going is the resilience born out of conviction that I see in our teams every day. I am especially proud of the Shadows team for staying true to their creative vision and the core tenets of Assassin's Creed. Wow. The victim mentality is off the charts. They are doing everything in their power to play the victim in the situation. They don't care about feedback. They don't care about criticism. Everything is just a blind, intolerant attack on them. And they're going to keep forward with the core tenets of Assassin's Creed. Whatever that means. But all of this reminds me of a conversation on Twitter involving Emma Kent, who is a previous Eurogamer reporter and a freelance games consultant who was talking about the topic of DEI and also these woke consulting firms, where they said a few days ago, "Hello, game consultant here. The idea that consultants are forcing diversity into games is ridiculous because 99% of the time, the devs have already decided they want their game to be inclusive and just want help fine-tuning how certain stories come across. Hope this helps. The people peddling this conspiracy theory are fabricating rage bait content to grow their YouTube channels and social media followings. They do not understand how the industry actually works, nor do they care to learn because they are simply seeking engagement." And then they relate this to Dragon Age, but I think this is also very relevant to Ubisoft and how they approach DEI. And it's very interesting with Ubisoft because it does seem like on the one hand, they are doing this on their own, right? As this person says, they want to commit to this woke pandering of a DEI approach in their games. But we also know that's not the truth for every other company out there and that these consulting firms have convinced them that this is the way they need to go to bump up their sales. And I think the proof is very easy to find here. Just look at the classic clip from Kim Belair, the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., saying this.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like companies are deciding to employ these woke consulting firms just because they want to. It sounds like they are being intimidated with the threat of cancel culture. And I think Ubisoft is a reflection of a systemic approach to that, right? They are so afraid of cancel culture. They've become this company that just embraces DEI now. They are actually kind of following the Bridge dynamic we've talked about in other videos where at Bridge, they said they want DEI to flow through the entire company from the CEO to the janitor to the point where it's a part of your DNA and you don't even question it anymore. And that's what's happening at Ubisoft, okay? They're now going out and probably working with a lot of consulting firms and also making these woke choices with their games on their own, but that probably wasn't the way it was forever. They've been convinced to the point where they now believe in this nonsense, and they don't even have to be convinced anymore, and they will keep trudging forward with this stuff even if they know it's killing their product. They acknowledge it and they're still pushing it while trying to claim they are apolitical. It's ridiculous. But let's read one more section of this article. So, in quotes, when we self-censor in the face of threats, we hand over our power until freedom and creativity wither away. This echoes the selfless bravery of our Assassin's Creed protagonists, he continued. They fought for freedom, knowledge, and the right to chart their own paths, just as we, as creators, fight to tell stories that matter in a world that grows increasingly divided. Once again, they're the heroes. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. They're just like these heroes from the game. Wow, isn't that so wholesome, Chungus? I hope they get a lot of updates on Reddit for this cringe post. But you get the point, okay? This article is pretty insane, and another reminder that Ubisoft is their own worst enemy. Not only are they delivering these shoddy products, their leadership comes out and makes the dumbest public statements ever that are totally against their own interest as a company. I can understand why at this point that these investors are so terribly worried about the future of Ubisoft. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, a bit of a long one, so I appreciate you guys listening. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.